Otsuchi, Japan, a small rural fishing village on Japan's east coast. In 2011, Japan's largest undersea earthquake hit just southeast of the island. The 9.0 earthquake caused waves 133 feet tall, wiping out 10% of Otsuchi's population of 16,000. Because the seawall was 6.9 meters tall, and they only expected waves of about 3 to 5 meters, no evacuation order was given. When the waves finally hit, they came over the seawall at nearly 30 feet. By then, it was too late. Many didn't realize what was happening because the sirens had malfunctioned and were caught off guard. The waves rose higher than the buildings people were standing on. They could only survive if they held onto something and hoped they didn't get dragged out to sea. Each of the 25,000 homes had on average 2 gas tanks to keep warm. When the water started to recede, the tanks that had become unlodged started to explode. Nearly 50,000 of them caused fires to burn for 3 days. When it was over 40% of the residences had been underwater or washed away, along with 98% of the businesses. At least 28,000 people lost their lives in the Tohoku region. A third of the population are still officially missing, their bodies having never been identified or found. 200 miles down the coast, the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear reactor would have 3 meltdowns over the course of 4 days, resulting in the release of nuclear material, creating the worst radioactive disaster since Chernobyl. A year before the tsunami in 2010, Itaru Sasaki learned his cousin, a calligrapher and martial arts instructor, had stage 4 cancer and only 3 months to live. He and his cousin were close drinking buddies and was deeply saddened by his loss. He had gotten a wooden phone booth from a closed pachinko parlor and put a black, disconnected rotary dial telephone inside and installed it in his garden. He felt this was a way to stay connected to his cousin after he passed to help him grieve. In December of 2010, he finished his work cleaning up the phone booth. Then the tsunami came and left many with lost loved ones. In the beginning, most of the phone's visitors had lost someone in the tsunami. But over time, it broadened. In the booth is a small logbook that people can write in where they leave their reasoning or who they came to talk to. After tsunami-related visitors, the second most common reason for people visiting is having lost someone to suicide. One of the entries written in the visitor's book in English is from a couple on their honeymoon. Both of their previous spouses had died. Entries have recently started to include more people who have accepted the deaths of their loved ones, writing things such as, "Please watch over us from heaven." The phone of the wind has become a type of shrine for some who routinely arrive to tell their loved ones updates on their lives or to pay respect to the dead. The rest of the coast continues to try and rebuild, as many prefab buildings are made in the wake of empty foundations. After the destruction, many left and very few returned. Some from grief or pain, as everything they once had or everyone they once knew were gone. Even with government assistance with grief stations, free rent in prefab buildings, and constant rebuilding, the road to recovery has been slow. Nobuhiro Suwa, a filmmaker, made a movie about the phone booth called Voices in the Wind. He said that even 8 years later, even though you can't see much of the damage, the feelings still linger. In 2015, Sasaki announced that the phone booth was deteriorating due to age. It had fallen over due to high winds and the wood was starting to rot. However, carpenters who used the phone came to its rescue to repair it. He later said he hoped to replace it with an aluminum one. He then received nearly 1 million Japanese yen from donations from people he helped. In late 2020, Corey Dembeck, a U.S. Army veteran living in Washington, learned of the death of a family friend's 4-year-old daughter, Joelle. She had died suddenly from sepsis brought on by strep throat. Devastated, he wanted to do something for his grieving friends. Inspired by Mr. Sasaki, he decided to build a wind phone and place it in Squaxin Park without the city's knowledge. After it became popular, the city made it an official installation of the park. As many as 50 wind phones are believed to exist in the United States alone, much like the one in Oakland, California, by artist Jordan Stern. He made one in honor of his friend Donalda Segrist and the people who died in the ghost ship warehouse fire in 2016. There also exists one in Dublin, Ireland, that was made by an anonymous art collective out of salvaged parts, but was destroyed by vandals. Or the one made by Tomohiko and Kazuko Kutsuna, a married couple in Tahara, Aichi, Japan, that installed a red painted replica of the wind phone named the Phone of the Sea Breeze in 2018. It was built in memory of one of Kazuko's students, an 18-year-old woman who died by suicide in 2009. There are many more like it all over the world in hopes of helping those grieving. At the height of COVID, a woman by the name of Amy Dawson came across the story of the wind phone after looking into how to grieve for her recently deceased daughter, Emily. Inspired by the idea, she had found that there were many wind phones across the world. So she created mywindphone.com and is determined to map all of them around the world. As of 2024, she has mapped 317 public wind phones and tries to update it every week. A notice inside the booth reads, "Who do you want to talk with? Kaze no Denwa will put your heart through."